Hello and welcome to the Source Gaming Switch presentation super discussion. I'm your host Nantenjex, and joining me today are Source Gaming staff members Connor Eats Pants, Epic Martin, and Spazzy D. So the Switch presentation is coming up. It's next week. We've got a whole list of stuff to do for this week in the build up to it, and as part of that, we thought we'd just talk about the presentation and what we expect to see, what we want to see. Just go over our general thoughts from Source Gaming staff members for this. So I think the best thing to start with is the presentation itself. Like, what do we think? How do we think this is going to be? We know it's being recorded. Like, there's a big thing going on in Tokyo, in Japan, and it's being live streamed from there. I don't know if Nintendo of America or Nintendo of Europe. I think they are streaming it, but I don't know if they're streaming a different thing or if they're just translating it live. They haven't quite made it clear, I don't think, what's going on with that. But we know that it's like 1 p.m. for Japan, 11 p.m. for America, and like 4 in the morning for Europe.
I think it's 11 p.m. Eastern time, correct?
11 p.m. Eastern time for America. Yeah, I forget America has like 3 or 4 different time zones. So
we're complicated.
Right, well, Spazzy, what do you think about the general presentation? What sort of stuff do you think they'll go over? How long do you think it will be?
We haven't heard anything about estimated length, have we?
No, not that I know.
Really.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it being, because I think it's going to be substantial. So probably like one of their longer directs, maybe about 45 minutes, like enough to show off a lot of things. I wouldn't be surprised if it's followed up almost E3 style with kind of treehouse footage of just random gameplay. Like, hey, let's look at the port of Xenoblade Chronicles X or whatever.
I wonder if they'll do that, just because straight after is when all the press who are there are meant to be going to be part of the, they get to play the game and they get to sit down and like it's a big thing for people to play. They might do it.
Right.
Like E3.
I mean, as long as it's better than the Sonic Anniversary, I'm cool. And it's definitely going to start with the trailer. It's definitely going to start with like yet another Switch trailer. That's what I'm calling.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think it will start with like a more traditional hardware trailer, and that will show off many of the features about the hardware, like it's the IR sensors on the bottom of the controller, the NFC port, whatever. Like, actually showing off the controller in detail, the USB ports, the microphone, whatever. Connor, what about you? What do you think about this presentation?
I want it to start off with Reggie doing, like, one of his, like, just speeches with, like, tons of, like, marketing buzzwords. It's, like, revolutionary, powerful, changing the game, and all those things. He did that for, like, the Wii U and stuff. Like, he came out on stage at E3 and was, like, telling how great it was going to be. Didn't turn out that way, but I think he can redeem himself this time. And so that's my belief. What else?
Recycles the exact same speech.
Yes, the exact same one, just changing the name Wii U to Switch. And then for length, I'm kind of a Spazzy. I probably think like I'm going to go in a clean 48 minutes. So hold me to that. Okay. I'm going to go with a clean 48 minutes, no more, no less. It's going to have all the games, of course. Hoping it talks more about OS and like online stuff that other consoles have that for some reason they don't. Hoping they just kind of like tell me like, yes, we have achievements. Yes, you can cross-game voice chat. Yes, this is 2017. And then I'll be good for the rest of it. And then we can just chill. So that's my prediction for this like length and stuff.
Martin?
I actually think that the presentation, similar to Spazzy and Connor Eats Pants, it's going to be 30 to 60 minutes long. I think that's a given at this point. It's going to be a lot longer than the standard Nintendo Direct and certainly the E3 2014 press conference.
Yeah.
And unlike Spazzy or Connor Eats Pants saying that it's going to start with...
Please, call me Connor.
Connor. Hey, I'm trying to get a hang of it, so... but I think it's going to start with a kind of a surprising reveal of maybe a game, and then they'll go into the specs, because I think that's what's going to grab people onto the event. I mean, as much as hardware pulls people, I think the audience seeing a game is going to pull them into it, and then they'll just do the hardware, and then they'll just go into the games themselves. I think they need something to latch people on with it. And I think that's either going to be maybe one of the Wii U ports, or that could be 3D Mario. Like, they could start off with that.
I just really hope it's not Zelda. Like, I'm just like, hey, look, more more Breath of the Wild, guys. Let's start this trailer with more. Like,
Link's in this one.
yeah, I mean, I see maybe one thing, but I kind of feel like they're gonna do like several sizzle reels, kind of like, hey,
yeah.
here's like our third party lineup.
Oh god, the dreaded
yeah.
indie game.
Here's our yes, I was gonna say here's our
Oh,
indie
no.
game lineup.
Real.
Here's our first party
I
lineup.
every single time I watch a direct, Spazzy, it's like I'm looking at the time because I give like the estimated minutes, and when the indie game reel starts, I'm like, oh no, I'm just looking at the time. I'm like, come on, finish.
I actually like playing indie games on my Wii U, but it's also funny because it's like, hey, look at all those games that have been available on Steam for 6 months.
So my thoughts about this is I think it's going to hit the hour mark. I think it's going to be longer than a Nintendo Direct just because of how much stuff they have to cover. Like, they've been saving clearly a lot of stuff. I think that they're only going to talk about games up until... The main focus being the launch titles, obviously, but games up until maybe September. Like, I think anything that's going to be holiday of 2017, at least from Nintendo specifically, won't be talked about. Third parties can do whatever they feel like. Whatever they've given to Nintendo will be brought up. But I think they'll start by showing off the Switch. I think Kimishima will come on stage and give some kind of speech. Remember, this is taking place in Tokyo, and this is their big event and stuff like that. He'll walk on, he'll give some sort of passionate speech. They'll show off a trailer for the Switch that shows off its stuff, and then they'll start with the games after that. I think they'll talk about the OS, they'll talk about the different, some online capabilities, stuff like that. I think they'll do all that first to get it out of the way.
Yeah, see, I think after like the whole entire Smash hype that happened and how much press and tweets they got from that, I think how either you open or close, it was with the flame slash and then the ka-ching, and then you see some characters. I think that's how you start or end the presentation. But the problem is it's only a port.
They're gonna end the
so,
presentation with fireworks and then Nintendo Land 2.
Oh no! Oh no!
Beautiful.
I remember watching that presentation. I was on a trip with my friend. I was trying to sell him on the Wii U. God, that was a mistake that year. It's like, oh, they're gonna show a lot of E3 this year, man. Just hold up. I remember waiting. I wanted to see Smash or something. I was so excited, and like it ends with that, and I'm like, there's more. There's got to be more.
And speaking of sizzle reels, there's sizzle reel with like they did their third party, and they're like, hey, it's Batman and FIFA.
I have Batman on the Wii U. I have Arkham City's port. It's terrible.
I mean, another thing, I know we're going to talk about games some more soon, but just remember too that this is a big reveal for Nintendo. But as you were saying, man, don't expect too much in the future because E3 is only half a year away too, so they're going to be saving things for then as well.
Yeah, I think the reason they want to show more than just the launch is because they want to, people to understand that, yes, it isn't just a lot of games at the beginning and then nothing for ages after that. They want to show that they're going to have a constant stream of games, but because of E3, they don't want to completely blow the load and reveal everything they're making. Mm-hmm. I think a new Nintendo, especially because they've waited this long to even show it, I think they're going more for an approach of the closer it is to launch is when we'll show, we're not going to show a game and be like, oh, then this will be ready in 2 years. We're going to show a game and be like, this will be ready in 2 months.
Yeah, that's a word for Bethesda. You go, Martin. You were trying to talk.
This presentation is probably going to be, showing off the main launch titles, but it's probably going to also show some teasers for E3. I think this is kind of the momentum. It's like the beginning Nintendo Directs Nintendo have had over the years, except it's going to be a bigger, more massive one to kind of hype up the launch, and then once people have the NX, Nintendo Switch. Oh my gosh, I got stop saying that. But once they have the Switch, they can go in E3 knowing, okay, there might be more software shown. They gotta ensue that confidence into them.
I honestly think that they have enough saved up. I mean, there's no reason to show a Metroid game that's going to come out in 2 years if you have Mario and you have Zelda and you have something random, I don't know, F-Zero, Wave Race, if you have enough stuff, And and they have to. They haven't come out with they haven't been making a steady stream of Wii U games in a year and a half. So I'm sure they have to.
I think for the most part, what they need to recognize is that right now, what you're selling to Nintendo fans that are trying to decide whether or not to pick it up day one. When you get hit E3, that's when they know their sales are coming September to December. That's when they're really trying to sell this thing. That's when you start showing it at E3 is what's coming out then.
Right.
Like, for now, I feel like it's much more launch and like what the console is.
Right. They're going for early adopters, and I don't think that they're gonna do much as far as revealing specs because it's just something Nintendo doesn't do. I mean, we're just gonna have to judge it by how the games look and how things work. But I just really hope that they delve a decent amount into the infrastructure of it, as far as virtual console, as friend lists, how any of that sort of thing work, upgrading any software from the the Wii U and anything like that. I think that's more important. Battery life, it just any sort of other gimmicks that we don't know. I don't want them to kind of muddy their message too much, because they still have to kind of let you know what's going on. But at the same time, they don't want to have a Wii U situation where people aren't really sure what the selling point of the console is, in other words. But at the same time, like, if it has motion controls in the Joy-Cons, we kind of need to know that, you know?
Yes, no, yeah, no. I think that's why I think that's what they'll start with, because the hardware is the biggest mystery, and that's what they want to sell. I mean, the software will sell the hardware as well, but it's not like the Wii U didn't have good software either, and it didn't particularly help it. People need to have a reason to buy the system for the system, which is why it's important to start with. And on that sort of note, I think that one of the first things they'll reveal, at least after that initial trailer for the Switch, will be the price tag and the release date for it.
Mm-hmm.
So the rumored price tags have been all over the place. I mean, Kimishima said that they're not going to sell the console at a loss, which made people think it's going to be high, but it's being rumored to be around $250 to $300, which is relatively cheap, if my understanding is correct.
That was
cheap.
Yeah, $250 was the price of the Wii at launch, the original Wii. So that's a mass market price.
Yeah, like that's what the one they're going for, with the release date of being March 13th to 17th. 17th, specifically Friday 17th will be PAL. America will be super close to that, and Japan will get it on the 13th.
I will say that I do think that at least North America will probably be the 17th too, because they've moved all our releases to Friday recently, including consoles.
Okay.
So I think it'd probably be 17th here as well.
It's worth noting that the 3DS also launched at $250.
Okay.
It got a price cut really soon because it wasn't doing that well.
Yeah.
To I think $170, just a few months after launch.
Way
But
down.
yeah, but they were doing it at $250 originally, and then they decided they could eat the loss rather than give up any market share to the Vita or to tablets or to whatever. So I mean, yeah, and just for comparison's sake, the actual Wii U I think was a $350 console.
Mm-hmm.
So this is
that was expensive.
Yeah.
So Martin, what are your thoughts on the price and release date?
I think 250 is a really good choice. 250 to 300. They have to keep it low for consumers to get interested in it. I think it won't have the same issue the 3DS did, because Nintendo is going to use that graphical fidelity to kind of push the price tag. Because the issue with the 3DS was that it was kind of quote unquote overpowered, or like not overpowered, underpowered when it came to its like price tag. People saw it and it was like, I can get a Vita that was maybe a little bit expensive, but had the graphical fidelity of maybe like more powerful PS2, somewhat under a PS3, and then the Nintendo 3DS was somewhat lower than, I would guess, a GameCube. So, in a sense, the lower graphical fidelity kind of pushed, I think, some consumers off of the price, and Nintendo had to slash the price in order for people to latch onto that. With the Switch, the graphical fidelity, as we can tell, it seems a little bit more powerful than the Wii U, at least. And maybe Xbox One levels. I mean, we don't know that for sure, but that's just what's been partially rumored. So if they can get that up there and use the graphical fidelity to push that price tag, we might see consumers latch on to that and say, hey, this is a good alternative to my, Xbox One or PlayStation 4, or at least a companion to it, We'll see what third-party games come to the system, but I think that for right now, that's the best option Nintendo has in sustaining its price tag.
Yeah, Martin, I will say to what you said about graphics in 3DS, I agree with most everything you said, but for 3DS, I will say the issue with it at launch was not the graphics. It was the launch lineup. It was the worst launch lineup I have ever seen for anything ever. I got it. I was trying to prove it to my friends. The only Nintendo games you had were Pilot Wings and like the submarine game.
I had Pilot Wings,
Feels
I had
like that.
Street Fighter 2, and I had whatever the Samurai Warrior game was.
Yeah, it was really bad. Oh, but
Yeah.
there was that fun game that came out like a month later. We could like take photos of your friends and like make them
Space
fight.
Raiders?
Yes.
No,
That game
Space,
was
Space
so
Raiders was the it was a packing title.
Oh yeah, it was that
came
one.
with
There
the
was one that was
game, yeah.
downloadable though. That was like take.
That
pictures.
was on the DSi.
Oh, it
That
was?
wasn't- That's,
Oh, that was the fun one.
Photo Dojo. Photo Dojo. I remember that.
I think
Yeah, I have that
$250 is a good price for a console, not a great price for a handheld. So it really depends on how people are looking at this. This isn't going to be the same sort of impulse buy that people will buy, a DS or a 3DS for their kids and buy multiple ones for the family. You understand
Well,
what I'm saying?
as we've seen, Nintendo is marketing it as a console you can bring on the go with you. So
Right, but that brings us
That's
to
smart.
the idea of perceived value. How much value do people have in? Hey, I like Skyrim. I can take Skyrim on the go. I personally love it. One of the things that I'm most excited about is I plan on giving Nintendo a lot of money because I plan on getting docks for at least 3 different rooms in my house. So not only is it a portable system, but it's a portable system that, hey, if I want to watch and play something from bed, I can do that. And then if I want to bring it down to the living room, I just take it out, plug it in downstairs. If I want to go that has a lot of value to me. But Nintendo thought, for instance, the 3DS, the 3D would have value, and that would sell it to people, and it did not. This, I think, has more of a core gaming functionality. So in that regard, at least, I think that it can attract a lot more of what you would call traditional gamers.
Mhm.
I don't know as much as far as expanded market type of people, if it'll attract a lot of the same people that already get their handhelds. But if people are seeing this as a good alternative or a good supplement to consoles they already have, but still as kind of a home console experience, then it's a good price. But I don't know. It's definitely a low enough price that it's mass market, so it's not a bad price. But we'll have to see how people respond to it.
Now, I think that Nintendo marketing it as a console that you take on the go will make people think of it more as a console, even if it does have that portability. The fact that the Nintendo are marketing it as a console, I think a lot of consumers are very easily influenced by. I mean, that's why you have buzzwords and stuff. So just them constantly repeating this is a console will make people value it comparatively to the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One rather than the Vita and 3DS and mobile phones.
Yeah, it's already
The
doing better
portability
just because
aspect
it's
is just like its gimmick. As
yeah,
a side
it's got
feature.
it's got that cool factor that the Wii U didn't have. Like the Wii came out, people saw it, like that's cool. I can wiggle the Wii remote and it does stuff. Wii U, it looked ugly and no one really got it. It's like that's a tablet, it's an iPad. I have an iPad. This, it's like, oh, I get that. Like games everywhere.
It looked
I feel
like a
it's already
Fisher
step
Price
ahead.
iPad. Let's be honest. It was plastic and bulky, and it wasn't a very sexy looking.
It was terrible.
yeah, give that
piece of-
childish factor
Yeah.
to the Wii U. It did.
They should have
whereas
just gave
the
it.
Switch looks more sleek.
Yeah, they should just put a GameCube handle on it while they were at it.
Alright, well, I think that kind of covers it for all of the main, general presentation stuff. But before we move on to the launch lineup, let's take a little break. This is a really long discussion after all. So, join us next time where we discuss the launch games that we are likely to see in this presentation, both Nintendo and third party. Look forward to it and have a nice day. Look.